What is the best hot tub? Great question. Alkalinity is definitely the most important thing that you guys need to balance. Hey, hot tubbers, it is Jackie the Hot Tub Lady, and you are listening to the podcast recorded live here on this channel, Tub Talk with the Hot Tub Lady. Guys, thank you so much for checking us out today. But today we're going to talk about how to balance your hot tub water. So we got a few questions here. Then we've got Jackie. She has a question. How much chlorine should I add at a time to overshot the market a few times? Jackie, what size of hot tub do you have and what are you using for chlorine? So let me know what's going on there and I will definitely answer the question. But we're going to start today with alkalinity is definitely the most important thing that you guys need to balance. So you need to be between 80 and 120 on your alkalinity, and that definitely makes a huge difference. That makes a huge difference on what you got going on. Alkalinity is the most important that you do for everything else. So when you do your alkalinity, you need to get that in line. If it's low, so if you're at a low market and you're at 40 or lower, it's super easy to raise that. You just literally put in some alkalinity increaser or some sodium bicarbonate and that will fix that. Super easy to do. I have a link down below where it has what you call it's a dosage chart sheet. You can hit that down below and it'll tell you for the gallonage of your hot tub and where you are today on what you need to do to fix that actual hot tub. So that's a big deal, and so make sure you guys download that. That'll help you a ton. So alkalinity is first. Make sure you balance your alkalinity, and then the next thing that you're going to need to balance is going to be your pH. pH is super important, and it needs to be at 7.6. That's where you need to have your pH is 7.6. And if your pH is at 7.6, your sanitizer is going to be 100% more effective. So if you jump your pH to like an 8.4, your sanitizer level literally drops down to almost nothing. So that's really important that you keep that pH where that pH is supposed to be. And it just your chlorine or your salt or whatever you're using for a sanitizer is so much better on a 7.6 pH. It's much more effective. So that saves you a ton of time. The next item I got for you guys after you do the alkalinity and the pH, those are number 1 and number 2. Ignore the pH until you get the alkalinity balanced. If your alkalinity is high, it's going to take forever to get that down. So if you're sitting something like a 80, 120, you're really going to be looking, or if you're looking like a 240, 300, which I've had many times, if you've got something like that, you are looking at, it's going to take a good 2 weeks to get that down. You're going to put 2 tablespoons of pH decreaser into that hot tub pretty much every single time to get that down. So we've got that going on. The next, so you get your alkalinity in line, and then you get your pH in line, and then you do your sanitizer. So Jackie, on the sanitizer, if you are using just granular chlorine, that is going to, you're basically going to put in 2 to 3 tablespoons. I'm going to assume you have about a 300-gallon hot tub. So with that, you're going to put in 2 to 3 tablespoons of chlorine granulars in the hot tub about every 3 days. So that's a big deal that you do that. I highly recommend that you don't go much longer than that, unless you're using a floater of some sort. I really recommend the At Ease ACE system. That is a good system to add to it's a good system to add to your hot tub. It's a floater, and then you really only have to add chlorine maybe once every week or so. I mean, and it's a really good system. And then on a At Ease system, you can keep that pH at a really low, you can keep that pH or keep that chlorine at a really low 0.5 part per million. So that's what we got going on there. After you get that chlorine in line, then you need to do what we need to call a shock. So you do have to shock a hot tub. So you got to take it from 10 part, or you got to get that chlorine level to what we call breakpoint chlorine, and that's a 10 part per million or higher, and you only need to be there for about 30 seconds. And then once you're there, that turns that chlorine into a really good mode. That turns that chlorine back into from bad chlorine to good chlorine. So that's kind of what we got going on there. So, okay, we're going to go back here. Jackie, she's using chlorine granules. Jackie, you can buy the floater at any local hardware or local chemical store. They should have that. And the name on that floater is the At Ease Spa Frog system. I'll have a link down in the descriptions as far as what you can do there. As you can buy that from Amazon, but your local hot tub dealer or pool dealer will have that as well, but you can buy it on Amazon. It's a really great program. What you want to do with that is you're going to keep that at a 0.5 part per million on your chlorine, and it's super exciting. So Regina Baxter, she is getting a new hot tub on Tuesday. So Regina, I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but there's the confetti, and there's your DJ air horn. And yeah, I got a new computer today, and I'm struggling today, guys. So okay, guys. So as we're getting started, just so we know, we've got the alkalinities first. Balance that first. Every time 80 to 120 is where you want to be on that. If you're high, you want to lower that, get it to 80, 120. And if you're low, you want to get that raised. Super easy to raise it, very difficult to lower it. So you raise it with alkalinity increaser, you lower it with pH decreaser. That's a big deal. And the on the pH, you want to be at 7.6. So that's a really big deal as well. This stuff is all good for your swimming pool as well. So you raise that with pH increaser and you lower it with pH decreaser. And then after that, we do your sanitizers. If you're on regular chlorine, you want to be to a 3 to 5 part per million. If you are on At Ease, you want to be at a 0.5 part per million. And if you are on salts, you can be 0.5 to 3 part per million. So this is how that goes. So it's really a good thing to make sure that those are in line. Those are the most important things to balance first. After that, we're going to worry about your hardness. Unless you're a saltwater hot tub. If you are a saltwater hot tub, we are 100% going to make sure that the hardness is 75 part per million or lower on a saltwater hot tub. If you are not at 75 part per million or lower, you 100% are going to end up with a non-working salt system. So that's a big deal. If you are on a chlorine system like Jackie you're doing, you need to have your stain and scale control. You need to be using that, and you need to keep that scale in control. And what that does is it takes that scale molecule, and what that does is it puts that protective field over that, so it can no longer bump into each other and create scale. And as that scale grows, it's very, very corrosive for the hot tub. So it loves heaters. It'll stick to a heater, and it'll shut those heaters down. It'll ruin your pumps. Scale and hardness is really bad for a hot tub, and so you want to make sure that you keep that in control. So you're going to do that with stain and scale control on a chlorine hot tub. It's just as important as putting stain and scale control in your hot tub as it is putting oil in your car. It will protect your hot tub. Now, if you are on a saltwater hot tub, I highly, highly recommend, instead of doing salt water or instead of doing stain and scale, you're actually going to use this new product. Let me grab it here. This new product here, it's called See You Later. If you're on a saltwater hot tub, you 100% need to be using this. And what you do is you just drop this basket in the filter compartment, just like it's showing here. You put that in the filter compartment, you let it do its thing, you leave it in there for 6 months. That'll get rid of the metal and the scale in a saltwater hot tub. It helps on a chlorine hot tub, but it definitely works better in a saltwater hot tub. And the reason you want to use the stain and scale control, it's definitely going to keep protect your hot tub. It's going to last longer if you're using stain and scale control. The reason I do not recommend stain and scale control for a saltwater hot tub is phosphates. Phosphates are crazy on salt cells. They will eat up a salt cell faster than anything that you can possibly imagine. I've been doing this for a really, really long time, and the one thing I can tell you is salt cells and phosphates, they just don't get along. And for years, phosphates didn't matter at all. They weren't a big deal at all. We always used to call them food for algae. Well, you don't have algae in hot tubs. So it wasn't something that we ever worked with on the hot tubs. It now was something that was definitely a problem on swimming pools because it would feed the algae on that, and so it would help that algae grow, but you don't get algae in hot tubs. Phosphate in hot tubs just wasn't a big deal. Well, now on the salt cells, we are finding that it will consume those salt cells really, really quickly. So it is important that you do get some phosphate test kits and you make sure that you check on those. These are actually super fun. In fact, I just shot a video earlier today on how to um, how to test that, and that should be up next Wednesday, but you can definitely check that out. But on my particular hot tub right now, the salt is actually a 250 part or 2500 part per million on my hot tub, and it's probably, I had some extra people in my hot tub this weekend and they had t-shirts and that type of stuff on, and there's a lot of soap in that, and soap is a huge phosphate. It phosphates come from absolutely everything. You wouldn't be amazed where phosphates come from, but soap is a big thing that'll cause phosphates, and so you got to keep those phosphates down on the salt system, and that's why you would use the See You Later versus the stain and scale control. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to check in and answer questions. Jackie, she wants to know, is it ever okay to use household bleach? I've had friends do it, but not sure. I don't recommend it. And the reason for not recommending chlorine in household chlorine in a hot tub, bleach is only 2% chlorine. So you're much better off to do a chlorine concentrate. If you're doing bleach, it's doable, but you're only putting in 2% of chlorine. And so what is the other 98% of the product that you're putting in your hot tub? And that's a big deal. And you want to make sure that you're not just adding all these extra fillers, calcium, and all kinds of other stuff that actually ends up in a bottle of chlorine. So it's really important that if you're going to do chlorine, I do highly recommend using the chlorine concentrate over anything else. Whatever you do, do not use chlorine tablets in a hot tub. Now, Ken, I know you're on here and you definitely want to use chlorine tablets if you want to, but this is kind of what we've got going on there. And is it necessary for chlorine vinyl liners? I never used it. So what are you using for a sanitizer if you're not using chlorine in your vinyl liner hot tub? I'm interested to know what you've got going on there. And phos-free weekly on a pool? Yes, 100%. And if you're not using phos-free, there's also phosphate remover that you guys can use in your hot tub. Highly recommend that you're doing a minimum of you want to do 2 ounces a week, and that'll help bring that phosphate down. Like I was telling you guys earlier today that I have 2,500 part per billion of phosphates in my hot tub. I will start with a heavy dose of 4 ounces of phosphate remover in my hot tub, and then I'm going to continue to do 2 ounces of phosphate remover until I get those phosphates down. Otherwise, I'm going to be buying new salt systems really, really quickly. Let's see, Mark, how to set his eye care on a Vanguard. Mark, I'm not quite sure what you got going on. I know Jim's got a Grandy at his house. I would be more than happy to, if you want to go online with me on Instagram, I will help you out, and you can share your eye care with me, and I can help get that lined up for you. So that's awesome. So we got through hardness and phosphates, and those are some really, really big deals. We want to make sure you get all those in line. So again, just to top it off, alkalinity first, pH second, sanitizers third, and then you're going to do hardness, unless it's a salt tub. If it's salt tub, hardness is first, and if it is a chlorine tub, hardness is down the ways a bit. So, and then phosphates after that. So that's all a big thing. So Vicky Doling, welcome to the stream. It's really good to see you. It says, we own a Hot Springs Grandy saltwater hot tub and is struggling to keep the pH down. Any recommendation or alkalinity is spot on. Vicky, that is the best news that you could possibly have. Because your pH is climbing, that means your salt system is working correctly. So your chlorine is generating, and that is kind of a byproduct of a properly working salt system. So if your alkalinity is staying in line, but your pH is constantly climbing, that does mean your chlorine system or your salt system is working absolutely perfectly. In a situation like that, maybe if you added a teaspoon, you said you got a Grandy. So on my hot tub, I literally add like 2 teaspoons of pH decreaser about once every 2 weeks. And it just keeps everything dialed in and just running perfectly smooth. So it does make a huge difference. So I do recommend you do that. And yes, Kayla, thank you. She's my guest. So she's jumping in where she can. She says soft skin spa is a great product to help lock in that pH. And it really is. It's a good product as well. That's an additional product that you don't necessarily have to have in your hot tub, but I so 100% recommend that you use it. It's a once a week dosage. On Vicky, you would do, I'm checking here, you've got a Grandy. So I have a Grandy. I put in 5 capfuls of that soft skin spa, and I'll put a link down in the show notes. But 5 capfuls of that soft skin spa once a week, and it does help lock that pH and alkalinity on there. And then the water feels super, super soft. So it is a big deal. Jackie, I don't have hard water. Do I need to use scale remover? I do probably recommend that you do use scale remover, but I would want to know where your hardness is. And if it's too low, it's important to get that back up. And to raise hardness, which in my market, that's just so unheard of, it doesn't even happen. But in my market, to raise hardness, we actually would use, it's called calcium hardness increaser. I think I've sold 6 bottles in the last 20 years, but if it's below 75 part per million, you do want to get it up to at least 75 part per million. It's kind of hard on the hot tub if you don't have that, but it yeah, I do recommend using scale remover. It's just going to protect the hot tub in the long run, so I do recommend that you use that. And Ken says, "Yes, I use the black Jacque Black, you mean? Algicide and Phosphate Weekly also. Great product. Highly recommend it." And Kayla does have the soft skin spa link in the chat, and you can definitely do that, but I will also put it in the show notes so you guys can find that later. But the soft skin spa is a really good product. So a couple other things on balancing your hot tub. It is really important that you do get everything in line, and then once you do get it in line, you do want to test it on a chlorine. You should probably test it once a week, and that you just want to do that with a regular test strip. Dip it in, pull it out, make sure everything's in line. If not, you want to make the proper adjustments. Again, keeping the alkalinity and pH in line as much as you possibly can on the get that done. And then your sanitizer, if you're on a regular chlorine concentrate, you're probably going to have to add that about every 3 days. If you're on at ease, that's really a once a week kind of test it and forget it, and it kind of does its thing. And if you are on a salt system, it kind of goes on its own for quite a while. I do recommend a weekly test just to make sure everything's good, and so you can stay ahead of problems, because on a salt system, if you do get behind, it is harder to catch back up. And, one of the things that a lot of people forget about on a salt system is a salt system can only generate a teaspoon and a half of chlorine in a 24-hour period. And something like the Grandy, if that gets behind, you're never, ever going to get caught up with just the salt system. And a lot of people assume that that salt system is going to work on its own and it's going to catch up. It won't do that. So it's really important that you actually add chlorine concentrate to that hot tub, or you add chlorine concentrate to that hot tub as needed. I kind of lost where I was on that. Um, So if you get behind on a salt system, you're going to have to get that back up to where it needs to be, and you need to get all the way up to a 10 part per million on a chlorine hot tub. And for me, like I'll link a video down below. It's called After Party Hot Tub Cleanup. That's going to might take a couple days of chlorine and a couple days of shock just to keep that going and get that to catch back up. And then, day 2 or 3, you'll get caught back up, and then that's going to move right along, and it's going to work just fantastic. So anyway, that's what we got going on there. What other questions do you guys have on the hot tubs? I mean, you got my attention here. We've got about a half hour to go, and would absolutely love to answer any questions that anybody has about just in general hot tub maintenance. What you got to do is you do want 100% make sure that it's doing what it needs to do. Kayla does say, one thing that I want to add about Jackie's comment on stainless scale being like oil for a car. Even if you aren't using your hot tub, you still want to balance it. Car oil just gets old even if you aren't driving. So this is true. It is 100%. You do got to do that. And that kind of leads me into, on a chlorine hot tub, you do want to drain, clean, and refill that hot tub every 3 months, 3 to 4 months. It is based on usage, but you'd be amazed how quickly that water gets used up. And you do want it, your total dissolved solids will get really high. And once you get too much total dissolved solids in that water, that chlorine can't bounce around and do what it needs to do to operate. So what you got to do is you actually have to drain that water, give it fresh water, let it start all over. So every 3 to 4 months, number one thing I can say is clean your filters a minimum of once a month. I'm going to tell you to clean your filters once a week, hoping you do it once a month, and then make sure you use a good filter cleaner, either filter Pleat Coat filter tabs. Those are awesome. You drop them in, they're like a little Alka-Seltzer tablet. They bubble and fizz and do their thing, and it's totally awesome. Or BioGuard, I really like their filter cleaner. It's a degreaser, and it works really, really, really well. But that is one of the things you can definitely do. So, and if you're on a saltwater hot tub, one of the things you can do on a salt tub is you can actually you only have to clean or drain those once a year. I do drain mine twice a year because mine gets used really heavily. And here in South Dakota, it's not such a big deal to do yours twice a year. But places like California and places like that that are really having a water shortage, it's kind of a big deal to only have to change that water once a year. And the beauty of that is that salt system is 100% getting turned over and going through over and over and over again, and it's constantly regenerating chlorine, so it works just absolutely amazing. And I highly recommend you use the salt system, and it goes over, it's just constantly regenerating that, so you don't have to drain that water as quickly as you would on a chlorine tub or a bromine tub, because you're constantly adding product to that, and that product has got a lot of fillers in it, and those fillers add to your total dissolved solids, and just a lot has to do to make that work. So Giovanni Franco, what is the best hot tub? Great question. That's actually a really good question, and I am going to answer that for you, but Kayla said the best hot tub is the one that fits your needs best. I'm short, my husband is taller, so we need something that fits him but also holds me into place. That's a great question. I definitely 100%. You do need to sit them, and you do need to try them. I am a saltwater fan. I really 100% find that saltwater is something that I really, really love, and I'm a big fan of the Hot Spring High Life series. I think that is a really, really good hot tub. Now, I will tell you, price wise, those are going to hit you in the higher price point. They're going to start around that 12, 13,000, just to kind of depending on where you are. So depending on where your budget is, that is a big thing as well. But your warranty on your saltwater hot tubs is 10 years on the shelf, 5 years against leaks, and 5 years on everything else. That's a big deal. With that being said, I sell 8 different brands of hot tubs these days, and I sell hundreds and hundreds of hot tubs. And you know, so there's some really great, the Fantasy and the Dream Maker entry level hot tubs. Those are absolutely awesome, and I highly recommend them. They're fully insulated, they're plug and play, they're good to go. You're going to find those anywhere from 3 to 7,000. If you go up to the value line, I love the Hot Spot series of hot springs, but I also sell the Artesian. I sell Hydro Pool, and there's some really, really good hot tubs in that market as well, in that price point. And those are going to be in the 9 to 14,000 range. You are giving up quite a few things on that, but they are in there. And then, of course, if you go into the Limelight series, fantastic hot tub. And then you're getting back up into the saltwater hot tub. If your budget will allow, I highly recommend a hot tub with a 24-hour circulation pump. Your hot tub will last longer if that's the case. And as Kayla said, I really, you know, sit in them and try them. It's a big deal to make sure that the hot tub actually helps you out and does 100% get you, you know, you're getting the therapy that you need from those hot tub jets. And you, to get that therapy, you need to be able to stay in those jets, and you need to be able to enjoy them. So give me just a second here. So I hope that answered the question. If you'd like more, if you have a specific brand or a specific hot tub that you would like me to comment on, I'd be more than happy to do so. Jamie, oh my gosh, so good to see you. It's been a while. Hey Jackie, sorry I joined. I'll catch up later. Just a quick question. I've had a pop-up water for I just had a pop up my water for the first time, and now my salt level is a little low. How many cups should I add? Jamie, before you add salt, test it with the salt test strip, because salt doesn't leave the water. So your salt, your hot tub may be telling you that it's low on salt, but test it on the salt test strip. Let me know where you are on the salt test strip, either via Instagram or on the chat here. But don't just automatically assume that you need to add salt to that hot tub. 9 times out of 10, you do not need to add salt. Salt can't evaporate. Salt doesn't get out of the water. It actually stays in the water. The only way you can lose it is through splash out, or like if you it's pretty hard for the salt level to go down. And if it's just from evaporation, so splash out or dragging it out with your swimming suit, that can cause the salt level to go down. If you do need salt, my guess is it's very, very little, like a quarter cup or maybe even just a half a cup of salt. So be really, really careful. If you put too much salt in that saltwater hot tub, like by a tablespoon or more, you can literally shut that salt system down. So it's really important that you test it with your salt test strip, and once you do that, then I think that'll make a big, big difference. So be sure to check that out. Um, okay, you believe your salt's at 1250. That is on the test strip. If it's on the test strip, I would start with a half a cup. And if it's higher than that, and then just go real slowly. I might even do just a quarter cup and then test it again. How much water did you end up adding? That's pretty low for you to lose that much salt. So kind of let me know there what you got going on, and I will help out with that for sure. Um, so I did see in the poll that we had going on there that we did have a couple of bromine users. Does anybody have any questions about bromine? Bromine is a little different than Bromine's a little different than salt system or chlorine, because it's a little more acidic. And you can do bromine tablets inside of your hot tub, but it's really important that you monitor your pH and alkalinity. you will 100% on the pH and alkalinity on a bromine hot tub, you are going to bottom out that pH and you're going to bottom out that alkalinity. That's a 100% guaranteed you're going to do that. So make sure that you're checking that alkalinity at least on a weekly basis. If not, you will drop that down to 0. And all of a sudden now you're looking at just a really hard to take care of hot tub, and it'll always be clear, which is awesome, is absolutely fantastic, but you are doing a lot of damage to yourself and you are doing a lot of damage to the hot tub if you let that alkalinity drop too low. I have seen 0 alkalinity on bromine hot tubs. So as long as you're taking care of that, you may really enjoy bromine. It's just one of those things that comes along with it. I wish I could tell you that there was a total perfect sanitizer solution out there that you would never have to think about, but it's, that each and every one of them has their advantages and disadvantages. So, kind of do there whatever you think will work best for you, and make sure that you have somebody that'll give you support when doing your picking out your sanitizer. There's a lot of salt systems out there where there's no support on that, and that's a big deal because you want to be able to turn to somebody that you can help. I will definitely help out everyone as much as I can. Again, reach out to me on Instagram. The You can definitely do that there. DM me there. That's the best place to get a hold of me, or you can leave messages down below and I will definitely get back to 100% of everybody that does reach out there. The Jackie wants to know, can I shock with chlorine granules? Jackie, you can shock with chlorine granules. It does work. It is important that you get up to 10 part per million when you do that. And you do want to make sure that you take the cover completely off the hot tub when you shock. And the reason for is you got all these bad molecules floating around in the hot tub. And when you separate those molecules are now want to gas off. And if they're gassing off and they hit that cover, they're going to bounce right back down into the hot tub, and that's a big deal. So you want to make sure that you keep your the cover off for at least a half hour for doing so. Now, when you shock with chlorine, be careful not to overdo it. And the difference between using a shock or an oxidizer product and using chlorine granules is when you put the chlorine in the regular hot tub, use regular chlorine to shock, it's going to get that level up to 10 part per million and it's going to do really well, but it's also going to take a long time for that to come back down. Where if you use an oxidizer, it's going to get it up to 10 part per million of free chlorine in no time at all, and it's going to come down in 20 minutes or so, and then your chlorine level is going to be right where it was. So kind of use your judgment. I don't think I would use chlorine granulars every single time I wanted to shock my hot tub, but you definitely can do it, and I have done it. I've done it many times, but it's just be careful that you don't get your chlorine level too high and you don't end up adding too much cyanuric acid into your hot tub, because you can do that with chlorine as well. Cyanuric acid is a really good thing for a swimming pool. They actually need it. What it is a sunscreen for the chlorine, so it keeps the sun from burning the chlorine up really quickly. And in a swimming pool situation, that chlorine will burn up in less than 30 minutes. So if you put in a chlorine puck and you get that chlorine in there and the sun's hitting it, you will burn up that chlorine super quickly. So it's really important that you have cyanuric acid in your hot tub or in your swimming pool. On a hot tub, we don't really want a lot of cyanuric acid, and you can actually create what we call a chlorine lock if you get too much cyanuric acid in a chlorine hot tub. And one of the ways you can do that is by adding too much chlorine to your hot tub, and that's another reason why you want to drain your hot tub every 3 to 4 minutes. So that is something that we do, or 3 to 4 months, not 3 to 4 minutes. So you do want to make sure that you're doing that, especially if you're shocking with a chlorine granular. But you can shock with chlorine. Just I do recommend having some oxidizer, a non-chlorine. It's monopersulfate is what it is. I do recommend that you have that around as well. So definitely. Any other questions you guys have? I think I've covered most of it, and I will go back and edit the show notes and make sure that I have links to everything we talked about today, where there's chlorine, bromine, the salt system, the stain and scale, the CU-laters, the phosphate removers, the phosphate test strips, salt test strips, all that good stuff. I will make sure that we get all that in there so that it can definitely, so you guys can find where to find that. Again, if you go to your local dealer, they should be able to help you. I do recommend that everybody takes their hot tub water in for a professional test once in a while, even if it's just once a quarter, to make sure that that's how that goes. But it is kind of a big deal. Um, let's go back to the notes here. Ken, stopped using granules a few years ago because of the stabilizer went way too high. I only use liquid now, and I add my own cyanuric acid. Now, Ken's got a swimming pool, and liquid chlorine for a swimming pool does work really well. The one thing I would warn you on that, there is a shelf life of liquid chlorine, and it does lose its potency really really quickly, so don't overstock on that. And then always check your expiration date or any date that you can find on that, Ken. But that's a good way to go, and especially in today's market when there is no chlorine for swimming pools, that isn't going to get any better this year. By next year we should be back up to where we need to be, but yeah, get stocked up on your chlorine, because on a swimming pool that is going to be a challenge. I already have mine for next year, so you want to make sure you do that. Ken, a pool, of course. Sorry, I know this is hot tub chat. Ken, you are more than welcome, and I hope you're learning a few things, because this stuff does apply to a swimming pool as well. And if you ever want to catch me offline, you know where to find me. I'll definitely help you out with any of that stuff. And on the liquid chlorine, I only buy 4 jugs a month. I need to go to the pool store as soon as I can make sure I have some. You do want to make sure that you get some, Ken, because it's not gonna be good. I think liquid isn't gonna be too bad. I don't think that's gonna be too much of a problem, but I do think um, tablets are going to be a challenge yet this year, so that does put a strain on the liquid chlorine as well. And then Chip, you did not use the heater, so did you use the on-the-go water softener? Would be my next question on that. And then, was it a brand new hot tub, or was it a used or a floor model or something along that lines? Was that anything that um was it brand new and it just got unwrapped and this is the first time it's been filled? And then, did you use the on-the-go water softener? Those would be the 2 questions that I'd have. So, speaking of the on the go water softener, if you guys are on a salt system, that is probably the one accessory that you 100% need to buy. Is you do need to fill your hot tubs with the softened water. Your saltwater hot tubs are not going to work well unless you get that hardness below 75 part per million, and the on the go water softener is the best way to do it. Otherwise, you can use the Vanishing Act, which works really really well. I personally find that it's a little bit of a I personally find that it's a little bit of an expense that you probably don't necessarily have. Um, but that would be what I would recommend. That you get the on the go water softener. They're like $199 on Amazon right now. Your local dealer should have them as well. But if you get those, make sure to check those out. And I will put links in the show notes. But if you got a saltwater hot tub, just invest in an on the go water softener. It's going to save you money in the long run. So getting back here to Chip, she's going to agree that it was likely source water or the sediment from the on the go water softener. So I have seen a few people hook their on the go up backwards, and then you get the media from the water softener into the hot tub. But he's saying that's not it. If it's soft debris, it might be some sort of calcium organic material and needs to be sanitized and filtered out. Also, make sure that you're giving your filter some extra cleaning. And Chip is saying yes, it's brand new, and he did not use the water softener. Yeah, you got something going on there, Chip. If you would like to send me a picture of that on Instagram, I would be more than happy to help you out. Again, you can reach me at the hot tub lady on Instagram. If you want to send me a picture on that, I would definitely love to help figure out what that is. And if you could catch some in your hand and then kind of rub it together, just put it in your hand and rub it together and then show me what's left in your hand, or even a video of that so I can kind of see what you got going on. I will definitely help you out with that. But it's probably your source water. There shouldn't be anything in the hot tub at all that would cause that to happen. I do recommend Chip, did you go salt? I'm going back and looking there. The If you went salt water, did you use the freshwater salt or did you use a different type of salt? That would be the other question. And I would definitely have that question. And then I would also recommend for you to get a filter for your hot tub. And then you're also going to want to help that if you are on salt, I do want you to do 3 tablespoons of chlorine concentrate every day for the next 3 days to get that salt system started off correctly. I wouldn't use bleach. If they give you bleach, I would definitely use chlorine concentrate. And we got to figure out if that's an organic or if that's a metal or a calcium. It could have been debris from your from your hose. It shouldn't be anything that was in the hot tub, and it shouldn't have shown up that quickly if it's any type of organic. So I'm definitely leaning more towards the fact that there was something in the source water. So we definitely want to check that out. Jackie, what oxidizer is best for shock? I'm a huge BioGuard fan. Spa Guard is my favorite. I would do Spa Guard Enhanced Shock. That's my favorite for a chlorine hot tub. It does have a tiny little bit of chlorine in it. It works fantastic. A 300-gallon hot tub, you would probably do 3 heaping tablespoons once a week, take the cover off, and it works really, really well. So I do highly recommend that. Ken, one last comment on about my pool. Thanks again for helping me out last year when the liner got a hole. Saved my pool, and I don't have to install a liner since I already did it. Woohoo! Yep, that was awesome, and I'm so glad that I got to help you out with that. And besides, now I got a friend out of the deal, so it's even better. So happy to help whenever I can. And if you ever need any pool questions, I am kind of a guru on chemicals, so let me know. I will definitely help you out as things go along. And then Richard Bolden, other than the eye care, do you recommend any digital water tester? It's getting harder and harder to read the colors on the test strips accurately. No doubt. As I get older, it's almost impossible to read those test strips. Eye care is definitely my go-to as far as a digital tester. I know it's an expense, and so that's one thing that I would do. Oh gosh, Kayla, help me. AccuCheck. Yeah, AccuCheck has a digital tester. You do have to buy the test strips for it, and then it'll actually give you physical numbers and not colors, which Kayla is actually struggles with colors herself. So that is something you can do. I'm not 100% sold on the accuracy of it, but those are like $90, so it's not so bad. So that's a good way to go if you're looking for another way other than colors. Other than that, I would actually recommend a professional tailor test kit, not just don't just do the OTO and the pH, the phenol red. You need the whole kit, and they're expensive. I mean, they're $120, but just make sure you get something that tests free chlorine, and it would be a DPD tablet at that point. Super important that it tests everything, and it doesn't just do the OTO and the phenol red. OTO is total chlorine, totally worthless test at this point. The only thing it'll do for you is tell you where your combined chlorine is. It has nothing to do with how safe your water is. So keep that in mind as you're looking, if you're really struggling with the test strips. I'm pretty happy with the 5-way test strips from Hot Springs, or they're called Freshwater. Those seem to be a little bit easier, and people like those. And really, if you're on a chlorine system, if you go, my absolute favorite for test strips is if you go to the Addy's system. What I love about them is they have a chlorine test strip, and you either have chlorine or you don't. It doesn't have a whole scale. It's either like you're good or you're not. And I think that's a really great way to go. Highly recommend that. But unfortunately, I'm not quite sure why why the rest of them don't do that, but it doesn't have the ability to let you know if you got to a 10 part per million. So that is the downside to them. But they test chlorine, pH, hardness, and alkalinity. So those are a really good test strip as well. And they do make it easier to do that. So that's kind of a big deal. Um, so we got that chip. I still want to solve your problem. Yes, on salt, freshwater salt, and vanishing yak. Did your vanishing yak have a hole in it? That would be my next question. If your vanishing yak had a hole in it, otherwise it's going to have to be your source water. So, and Kayla does say that AquaCheck does 100% test. The AquaCheck does test does the um, digital tests on that. I'll see if I can find a link for that for you as well, Richard, so that you can put that on. I'll put that in the show notes as well. So, um, okay, guys, we got about 5 minutes left, and if there's any other questions, now's a good time to throw those in there. I hope I covered everything. Again, just to recap, alkalinity's first, always alkalinity first, 80 to 120. pH is second, 7.6. Chlorine or sanitizers are third. If you're chlorine, you want to be at 3 to 5 part per million. If you're bromine, you want to be 4 to 6 part per million. If you're salt system, you can be as low as a 0.5 to a 5 part per million. And if you're on an at-ease system, 0.5 part per million on your chlorine. If you do if you are in a regular chlorine hot tub, stain and scale is super important. Need to do that a minimum of once a week. It's as important as oil is for your car. If you're on a salt system, stay away from stain and scale and use the See You Later metal remover pack. So that's a big deal there. And then get your phosphates in line. If you're on a salt system, you want to keep those at 300 part per billion or lower. Super important that you need to do that. And then we definitely, I think that's good there. Make sure on a chlorine hot tub that you drain that water a minimum of 3 to 4 times a year. A saltwater hot tub needs to be drained once a year. Clean your filters once a month. Super important that you're doing that. And you do want to do that with a cleaner or a degreaser of some sort. So that's a big deal. And when you shock, make sure the cover is off the tub for a minimum of a half hour. Kayla, am I missing anything? I think I got it all. Jackie, I may need to schedule an appointment with you. I'm the one caring for the hot tub and trying to learn everything. Jackie, I would be thrilled to help you out. I do have online consulting, and you can definitely check that out at www.thehottublady.co, and that is actually on, if you go to the shop page and just go to hot tub consulting, I will definitely do a 30 minutes call with you. And it's I've had a ton of people do it, and they've been very, very happy with that. And then once you do a consulting with me, you get kind of a fast track to me. And if you ever have any questions, it's not a one and done thing. I definitely help you out as things go on. So $59. Highly recommend that you guys check that out. But would absolutely be thrilled to help anyone out with that. And then, again, guys, check out my website. It's 100%. I'm looking to see if I can find I wasn't planning on going there today. But again, www.thehottublady.co. Go to the shop section. That'll find you all this stuff that we were talking about. We were talking about the dosage guides. There's a at-ease cheat sheet. There's saltwater cheat sheets. I don't have a chlorine cheat sheet, but just know that if you add a couple tablespoons of chlorine every 3 days or so, you're probably going to be okay on that hot tub. But I'd be thrilled to help you guys out. And with that being said, if you guys get a second, please hit the thank you, or hit the thumbs up. I really appreciate all you guys. Kayla does have the code there, or the website there. You guys can definitely check me out there. And again, I'll put it down in the show notes. But you guys are totally awesome. I appreciate you limping along with me as I'm getting my new computer and my new technology set up. You guys are the absolute best. I totally appreciate you. Give me a thumbs up, ring the bell, hit the subscribe button, do all the things that help me help you become a happy hot tub owner. And don't forget, you can definitely support the channel. You can buy me a coffee. I love my coffee, so you can definitely check that out as well. And you guys, I absolutely love you. And if there's anything I can do for you at all, please reach out to me on Instagram. I will definitely DM, or I will definitely hit a DM. I will 100% get back to you. If you don't have Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, also the Hot Tub Lady, or you can leave me a message down below. I will get back to you, and then we'll figure out a way to get connected. You guys are the absolute best. I totally appreciate every single one of you, and we will see you again next week. I got a new video coming out on Wednesday, and we will have there's a couple of shorts. I did some really cool short stuff that's coming out. So absolutely love you guys. I think you are the absolute best. Thank you for hanging out with me, and just remember, keep making life epic.